This video compares product-based and project-based development efforts using the Agile 2.0 application in the ServiceNow IT Business Management product. ServiceNow Agile 2.0 supports two different types of Agile development efforts. One is product-based efforts, where stories, sprints, and other Agile activities are tied to a specific product led by a product owner. The product can be a complete application, or it can be a component of a larger product. It's a long-term approach. Agile development takes place indefinitely over the lifespan of the product rather than for a specific time period. Then there are project-based efforts, where Agile development is part of a project with a clearly defined scope and end date, led by a project manager. These efforts incorporate Agile development methods into a traditional waterfall project structure. Project-based efforts are common because the financial side of many companies is structured to fund development efforts as discrete projects. Let's take a closer look at product-based development on the ServiceNow platform. A typical product-based effort starts by defining the product in terms of the features and functionality it'll provide, or in the case of a larger software application, defining multiple component products. These features are defined as Agile stories that clearly identify the user's goal, and the reason for the goal. These stories make up the backlog for the product. The product owner prioritizes the stories and combines the highest priority stories into a release backlog organized in themes and epics. Agile development teams implement and test the release backlog in sprints following a release timeline. This process can be repeated indefinitely, improving the product release after release. It comes to an end only when the value it adds to the product no longer justifies the cost. Now let's take a closer look at project-based development efforts on the ServiceNow platform. There are two typical ways to create an Agile project. One is project first. In this approach, you start by using the demand management process to create and fund a project. Then you carry out the project using a mix of Agile stories and sprints and traditional project tasks. As an example, a company might identify a need to enhance the security features of its software product, gather an initial set of requirements for the enhancements, create and fund a project based on those initial requirements, flesh out the requirements in the form of Agile stories and project tasks, and finally implement the stories using Scrum methods and execute the tasks using conventional workflow. The other approach is stories first. In this approach, you first collect new requirements in the form of Agile stories over time. Then, when enough stories are collected, you create and fund a project through the demand management process to implement them. As an example, a company might collect requests from customers for enhancements to a software product, create an Agile story for each request, combine a set of related stories in an Agile theme, create and fund a project to execute the theme, and finally, implement the stories in the theme using Scrum methods. Whether the development effort is product-based or project-based, the Agile teams use the same Scrum methods to implement the themes, epics, and stories. We'll take a look at these methods in our next video. For more information, please consult our product documentation, knowledge base, or podcast, or ask a question in the ServiceNow community.